We all want faster sales, right? But not at the cost of doing things that feel unethical or icky, to use a technical term. In this episode, we're sharing 6 ways to get your audience buying faster without using any sleazy tactics. Imagine getting more sales every single day from now until forever. And the next time you're not getting the sales you won't have to be tempted to try whatever the latest selling trend is that everybody's screaming about on the internet that doesn't really feel right to you, because I think pretty much everything we're sharing today is timeless and will work now and in a year and 10 years from now. All right, let's jump in.
There's no wrong way to be an entrepreneur, and that's the dirty little secret the business gurus don't want you to know. They want you to do things their way, but their way may not be your way. The key to success is finding the strategies that work best for you. Welcome to the 6 Ways with Jerry Potter.
Welcome to episode number 32 of the 6 Ways. Every week, we bring on a smart, innovative guest who is thriving in their field of expertise to share their best tips with the rest of us, because I truly believe we all do better when we all do better. And this way, we can all achieve our entrepreneurial goals. My name is Jerry Potter, online entrepreneur, content marketer, and podcast design consultant. My guest today is Monica Badiu, host of the Master the Inbox podcast. And she also helps course creators enroll students through customer-centric email marketing. And by the way, has written email campaigns that generated over $3 million in 2023 alone. Congratulations. That's amazing. And she also helped me with my email copywriting a few years back as well. Monica, welcome to the show.
It's great to be here and thank you for inviting me. I can't wait to show people that you can sell with email marketing in a non spammy way.
Yeah, well, and I'm excited for this conversation because you're one of those people that even when I think I've heard it all, I always hear something new coming out of your mouth, or a new fresh perspective. So I'm excited for everything that we're going to share today. I want to ask you up front though, how often do you run into business owners, or in your case, course creators that they've got an idea, like they come in and they're like, oh yeah, I want to get a lot of sales, but I will not do XYZ because they've had a bad experience from the consumer side
Every time, every
every time.
client, every creator who asks me or sends me a message and is like, I love the idea. I get that email brings money, but I don't want to have a discount. I don't want to have a countdown. And it's very common, but once you realize it's a whole system and a whole journey and each message has its own place in a
Mhm.
promotion, then they get familiar, they get easier with the idea of selling with email.
Yeah, I think for a lot of entrepreneurs, it's kind of like, well, where do you feel ethically? And it's like, well, I don't like that, and I don't like that, and I'm not going to do that, or discounting, like you talked about. For me, I've always used my mom as my moral compass, where it's like, how would I feel if somebody else used this on my mom? And if I would not feel good about that, then I absolutely won't do it in my business. And it's been very easy. I mean, there's always gray area, but it's been very easy to kind of make it black and white for me on, what makes sense and what doesn't make sense. So we're going to share the 6 ethical ways to get your audience to buy now. Monica brought 3, and I'll share 3, and including how do you get people buy when there isn't an actual deadline, and how do you get people to buy now when you don't offer discounts. Also, our question of the week from Carly: can I just get an AI tool like ChatGPT to write my sales email sequences? I'm sure Monica's got thoughts on that, as do I. And so we'll get into that before we wrap up the episode. So make sure you keep listening and watching until then. All right, 6 ethical ways to get your audience to buy now. Monica, you're the guest, so you're up first. What do you got?
One that's very simple, empowerment. And it's something that a lot of people aren't doing with their emails. The basic tactics are fear mongering, scarcity, and fear of missing out, which it's all kind of you're in control and you're kind of dangling the carrot for your audience to buy. And
Mhm.
when you do it like that, obviously it doesn't feel good. You just do it because other people are doing it and because you kind of know that it works. But when you switch your emails and your messaging into empowering your audience, and you'll do that through a few different tactics, and I'll explain in a bit, the power shifts. You're not taking advantage of anyone. You are educating, informing, and coaching, which puts the power into the hands of your audience. So they have a choice. They have the freedom to choose, and I think that's awesome. So one of the ways I use emails to empower an audience to buy something is by presenting them a potential future. Now, most people present future from the perspective of here's what's going to happen if you don't buy this offer. I
Okay.
go the other way. Here's what could happen if you do get this course and you invest a minimum time and effort to get a very specific minimal outcome. And imagine what would happen in 1 week from now, in 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, and 4 weeks from now. And now, when I build that future, it isn't something that I create or I know take out of the blue. It is based on common testimonials and outcomes as achieved by other students. So that makes it true. And I even say that after I finish creating that roadmap, that future that can be within their grasps, I tell them I did not invent this. This is the actual outcome our students were able to achieve when they gave this a try, right? Because it's
Mm,
about
yeah.
giving things a try. It's not about dedicating your whole life to learning English in 1 month. That's not the case.
Yeah. I love that you use the word empower because it does all of a sudden shift to them and focusing on them, which is what we should be doing anyway. And it's funny how sometimes, verbiage, not even the verbiage we're using in our marketing or in our emails, but just the verbiage we use ourselves. I remember the first time I saw somebody, I'm sure we'll talk about, addressing objections for sales and things sometime in this episode. But the first time I saw somebody talk about how, instead of trying to change somebody's beliefs, we help them realize what is actually going on. And I was like, oh, it's a subtle difference, but I love that. And it feels ethically so much more right as opposed to going in when we think of changing beliefs, it feels almost like, I mean, you think of cults and, brainwashing and things like that. And it's like, no, we don't have to do that. We can just help them realize, which is really, really great. So, all right, I love that. Number one is to empower them to make the right decision and to take action. Next up, number two of 6 ethical ways to get your audience to buy now. And this is something where, a lot of times when somebody's selling, they don't have a discount, they don't have an actual deadline like it is, as Monica mentioned for courses. If it's a live course, there's a deadline because the course is actually starting. But what we can do is still apply a deadline to their goals. So I had a client once who was a coach for authors, help them write their books and get them out, figure out the publishing and all of that. And so some of the verbiage that we talked about with her was, she would say things like, well, I've got this special and it's expiring Friday, so sign up for that. And it's like, what if you just say, we can get your book out by spring if we start next week, or we can get your book out before the holiday season if we start next week. And so when you turn around and you tie it to their goals, it becomes all of a sudden not any sort of like weird, fake deadline or anything like that. It becomes something they want. And if they want it, they're going to move forward. And if they're not ready, then, maybe they truly aren't ready. Another one is, we can have this up and running before the busy season if we start this coming Monday. But you can always take whatever they're out for and then tie it to a date or a series of dates, a few days perhaps on a calendar in order to get them excited and go, okay, yes, now is the time. Because if they want it now or by spring or by the holiday season, it's going to click for them and it's going to click in their brain, is what I've found when I've done that.
I really, really like that. It's something I use towards the end of a promotion. When everybody talks about the expiring discount, I just shift perspective, and it's like, well, you have like 3 more weeks until whatever, or 6 more months. What if those months are actually the months you get closer to achieving your goal? I really like that. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
way
It
of
can.
using the scarcity of the time that's running out, because time flies by anyway.
Yes. Yeah. All right. 6 ethical ways. This is an important keyword here. 6 ethical ways to get your audience to buy now. Next up, number three. What do you have, Monica?
I have tackling objections, and again, missed opportunity. A lot of people aren't usually doing this. It's like Oh no, if we bring those forward, we're kind of like shooting ourselves in the leg. But that's not
Mm.
the case, because a lot of people aren't buying things because they don't find the answers to their objections and fears and questions on the sales page or in the email. So if you let them figure out, well, the objections themselves, they're not going to do it. So if it's an objection about your credibility as a brand, you have to tackle that, and you should tackle that early on. You shouldn't leave them to find the answer. You should give them the answer. If it's an objection about the competitors, like, well, why should I buy this for this price because I can find it at the competitors for cheaper?
Hmm.
That's an objection you should definitely tackle on your sales page or on your emails. And then the objections can go as wide as like the industry itself. Like maybe I work with course creators, right? And an objection to the industry could be, why should I buy an online course to help me learn this when I could go to, I don't know, formal education, or to turn to an one-on-one type of learning with a coach or a tutor. So those are
Hmm.
objections you should definitely tackle. Because again, if you don't, then they will just find the answer that matches their own biases and
Hmm.
reinforces their current false beliefs, which means that they're not going to move forward with something that they don't feel confident about.
Yeah, confirmation bias is a really dangerous thing. And that is where you're going to find the answer that you're looking for, whatever you believe. I sent an article to my family a couple weeks ago, and I honestly can't remember what it's about now, but I prefaced it up front. I said, hey, whatever you think this is going to say is what it's going to say, because it tackled both sides of it. And so if you go in with that, that's exactly what you're going to see. And I get I don't want to bring up a reason for somebody not to buy. And so it sounds like what you're saying is it's a matter of identifying which of those you do need to bring up because they absolutely have it if you haven't addressed it versus the ones that maybe you don't bring up until they bring it up. Is that right?
Yes, and if we're talking about ethical ways to sell, right? So you need to inform your client as well. You can't expect, like, there's a lot of bad stuff about my offer that my students shouldn't know about. That is unethical. So if
Yes.
there's a problem with your course, own it, be upfront about it, and then explain how you're gonna solve it, right? So you can say something, look, I know there's a lot of YouTube videos teaching similar things. I know it's easier to just go do that and just not commit to a paid investment. I totally get that, and you're welcome to do it in your own pace and spend as much time as you want using free content. But here's how this is different, or here's why it would actually make sense for you to invest this amount in this course, and you go and explain, like, why does it matter to your audience? Why shouldn't they choose free? Because if you don't mention it, that doesn't mean that they don't know it's available for free.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great example because, like, with me in the social media and content marketing space, there are tons. I mean, YouTube is full of free resources. A ton of them are mine, but then I talk about how a lot of them are out of date and don't work anymore. They don't look the same and things like that. The other thing I wanted to mention too, when it comes to objections, one of the things that I love to talk about at events on stage or when I'm consulting somebody because it tends to be such an aha moment is we're not trying in a lot of cases to get somebody to say yes to whatever our offer is. We're trying to get them to run out of no's. And that's exactly what addressing objections is because anytime you go in, when you walk by a restaurant, you're like, oh, that looks good. It smells good. I wonder if the food's good. I wonder if it's overpriced. I wonder if I drove here, if there would be parking available. Looks pretty busy. Like all of those things pop into our head. And so we just need to, basically get them to run out of no's. And that's usually when somebody will buy and become a customer or client. So, all right, next up, 6 ethical ways to get your audience to buy now. Number 4, and this one does use urgency, but not in the usual way. And this uses personal urgency. So traditional urgency is kind of like, hey, doors are closing, sales ending. You've got to get this now or you'll never get it again, that kind of stuff. And I'm all for using deadlines when they're real and there's a good reason for them. But personal urgency is essentially giving a personal reason why now is the time to take action rather than later. And so the way that I do that is usually kind of, saying something like with Social Media Leads Lab, which is my marketing membership for social media, obviously. I'll say something like, how many more weeks are you going to go missing out on sales because you haven't bothered to figure out your social media yet? And so that's kind of that first piece, is just to kind of make it personal for them, again in an ethical way, of course. And then the second thing is to tie it into the fact that whatever you're offering hopefully can get them a quick win with less effort. So if you say yep, and a year from now you'll finally see results, this is not a that's not appealing to anybody, right? Work hard 24/7 for a year and then you'll see results. So one of the things I talk about in social media is, look, literally the first day, we'll get your page or your profile optimized. I have this profitable pages and profiles framework, super simple, and you'll often get sales from that. I mean, I've had people that have done that and gotten a sale within an hour, or within, leads within 18 hours and things like that. So when you can use personal urgency, just kind of that language, along with something that shows them that, hey, the sooner you get started, the sooner you're going to start seeing results. I found that to be really, really effective in my marketing.
Yeah, and it's also restating the problem. I mean, it's like I follow Jerry because he teaches about social media, right? Because I have some problems with social media at the moment. I can't do that, and then you can use your email. Well, is it worth it spending 3 more months dealing with this problem when you can actually start doing it, resolving it, and see results within 3 weeks? Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and it is because all of those things, weight loss, like for me, my weight's gone up and down my whole life, and it's like, oh, I'll start after this. I'll start when things are, But if somebody came along and said, hey, you can get started now. Now, weight loss can be a dangerous one when they say you can lose 10 pounds by Saturday, but the general idea is there, and I feel like that's a relatable way to look at it. So, all right, next up, number 5, 6 ethical ways to get your audience to buy now. What do you got, Monica?
Well, I think this one is going to match very well with what we've talked so far. So,
Okay.
this one is about helping the audience identify themselves or disqualify themselves from the person who's the best fit for your product. And now, this is going to tackle a major misconception because when I talk to business owners and I'm like, okay, who do you want to serve? And the answer is everybody or as many people as possible, that makes it
Yeah.
very hard for you to actually have a message that's valuable and personalized and engaging to a very specific audience. Because yes, you can help everybody learn English, but only a specific group of people benefit from your method, from your type of, I know, learning, whatever. So with emails, you can tell them exactly this. So there are two approaches. Here's who this is for, or here's who this isn't for. And what I like to do is like, look, you don't have to buy because of a discount. Because even if you do get that discount and you get in and you do the work and you end up disappointed because it's not going to work for you, that doesn't make sense. So here's how you can know if this is for you, and you either list the traits of someone who's your like ideal client and who would rock achieving their goals with your offer, or you can actually go with testimonials and saying, hey, here's Marie, she's 37, she's been trying to lose weight for the last 5 years, but then she got in, and here are her words, here's her success story. You can even simply just like disqualify the whole idea, because a lot of people in an audience are aspirational. They're not ready to commit to doing anything. They're maybe either researching or like just liking the idea, but they're not actually going to do the work. So they're looking at
Mhm.
your offers, they're not enrolling, which is very frustrating for a lot of people. And this is the reason why. So what I did with a few clients was like, you don't have to be an entrepreneur. you don't have to maybe lose weight. So you go the other way. So you're trying to help them identify themselves, pre-qualifying themselves basically. Because even if they do buy your offer and they get in, if it's not right for them, they're not going to use it. They're going to want their
Yeah.
money back and they're going to have a bad experience. And bottom line, it's not going to help your business. It's not going to help with word of mouth. You're probably going to get maybe a negative review because it's like, I bought this, it sounded amazing, but then it didn't work for me. So with disqualifying and qualifying, you're basically going to navigate this whole fragile fragile area of selling online.
I knew I'd be writing something down today, and I don't always take notes during every episode, but I just, I have a new offer that's coming out as the time of this recording, and some feedback I got from a friend was, so full transparency, I'm kind of going broad with this to generate curiosity because it's the first time, and I want to, like, I don't know who it's perfect for, quite yet. It's a front end, like, low ticket workshop, and then there'll be a higher offer on the back end. But a friend of mine gave me feedback on the page. She goes, I don't know who this is for. Like, you've got to add a section that says that. And I was like, oh yeah, thank you for that. But I've always done the, this is for you if, and or this is not for you if. But I what I just wrote down is, I love what you said, where you said, here's how you can know if this is right for you. So one of the things that I hear from you quite a bit in the way that you talk about this, and from working with you and seeing your content, is it goes back to the number one that you said, empowering them, right? And that's such a beautiful piece of copy that is the difference between those two. Like, if I say this is for you if, it's kind of like I'm almost deciding for them, which I guess in a way it is. But when you say, here's how you can know if, I love, love, love that. So I just jotted that down. Really, really. I don't know. I'm sure sometimes you just say things and they're just brilliant without realizing. I don't know if that's one of those, but that was great. And I definitely wanted to write that down. So, okay.
It's an actual piece of copy I use in emails because that's
Okay.
that's the deal with how I approach this. I've written probably thousands of sales emails until now. You
Lot
get to
and
a
lot.
point where you have to decide, like, where do I want to be? Do I want to be the sleazy marketer who's all about converting as many people possible, or do I want to be the good person who's looking into, I'm actually interested in the well-being of your audience. It's not all about making the money. So
Yeah. But your success over the years has obviously shown that you can have both.
you can have both, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right. Next up, number six ethical ways to get your audience to buy now. And this is actually about when you have a real deadline, whether it's a course launch or it is a discount that's ending or whatever it might be. And I learned this lesson the hard way. I was launching something at the end of another product. So I was actually running a course, and at the end, I was launching a membership. And there was somebody throughout the entire program that was like highly engaged and saying, this is so great. And I can't wait for what's next and all this kind of stuff. Well, then the offer came for the membership at the end, and he didn't sign up. I noticed after the deadline, I was like, oh, that's weird. I thought he'd sign up. And I sometimes have automated ways of doing this. Sometimes I will do it, manually as follow up, say, hey, I just noticed you didn't buy. I would love to know why. And so when I reached out to him, he said, oh, I didn't know there was a deadline. There was no countdown timer in any of the emails or anything like that. And I went, oh my gosh. And so at that time in my business, I had been having some, questioning things ethically myself, like, oh, is it too much to have flashing countdown numbers in every email and things like that? And so what I took away from that is, can it be overdone? Yeah, perhaps. But if you don't communicate the offer to your person, just like anything in your offer, if it's not clear, then that doesn't serve either of you well. So at that point, I let go of the worry about putting countdown timers in emails when there are actual deadlines. And so the number six tip is, the number six way is to do over communicate when you have a deadline. When I worked as a radio personality, we would all the time have different promotions and things like that. And we would talk about it 8 times an hour for 2 weeks. Sure enough, the day after it ended, somebody would call and say, hey, I just heard about this thing. When is it starting? So when you feel like you are under commun or when you feel like you're over communicating anything, keep going. because your audience has not heard it enough times yet. So that
I
was my
love that
lesson
you mentioned.
learned.
I love that you mentioned that because I was thinking, wait, but countdowns actually work. There's a place for them in your promotion, and I have this issue with my clients as well. They're afraid to use them, but that's the thing. You don't have to use them in all emails because
Mhm.
then they're gonna lose their power. But you have to realize your emails aren't the only emails in their inbox, and you are definitely very low on their list of priorities on every single day. So a countdown, while it feels like you're putting pressure on people, it's not. You're actually informing, if you want this, then you have to decide. There's an expiration date on this, and it's your choice whether or not you want it, but I'm doing my job to let you know that there is an expiration date.
Yeah, and 7 countdown timers in the same email might be overdoing it, but there's nothing wrong with, again, over communicating something that is important for them to know. Because let's say they wanted the offer like this guy. Like he'd already basically said, "Yeah, I'm buying whatever you have at the end." He wanted it. And I didn't communicate that very well. I'm sure in the text it said, by the way, sign up by Thursday or something like that. And he skimmed it or, whatever it might have been. So, yeah. All right. Our question of the week here in just a second. How good can an AI tool like ChatGPT do at writing a sales email sequence? So, I'm going to have Monica chime in on that. By the way, real quick, word of mouth is the number one way that new people discover and grow their businesses from this show. So, if you found this helpful so far today, tell someone else who would benefit from it too, because we all do better when we all do better. And thank you to everyone who has shared the show this past week. So, question of the week is from Carly. How good can an AI tool like ChatGPT do at writing a sales email sequence for me? So obviously, ChatGPT and AI has taken over the world and claimed that it can write good copy and all of these things. So, what would you say to Carly and anyone else having that same thought, Monica?
It's not as easy as you think it is. So, yes, it can write an email sequence for you. Is it good? Is it good for your audience? Is it very salesy, mediocre? Is it engaging? There are so many levels to this. And in like I could summarize it to one thing, which is the quality of the output is going to match the quality of the input. So if you have a hard time communicating with clarity what are the benefits of your offer, if you don't know who your target audience is, if you don't know how to explain a feature into a benefit, and you're prompting ChatGPT to write a sales email for you, you're not gonna get really good results. It's good for like a beta version, but my suggestion is to use it as a tool and don't let yourself be used by the tool. So take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, I early on in my business, I sent out some very mediocre sales sequences before I'd studied copywriting, before I knew what to do. And surprise, surprise, they didn't work. And so just having 6 emails that have been written by somebody else feels good, but it may not be effective in any way at all. With social media, a lot of times, early on when I first started kind of coaching and consulting on this, a friend of mine who had a business was like, "Hey, can you just do all my social media for $99 a month? Like, just can you just do that?" And at the time, there were all these ads about like $99 a month social media. We'll do all your social media for $99 a month. And, and I said to him, I'm like, I tell you what, you give me $99 a month and I will do nothing. And you will get the same results as anyone who is charging $99 a month to manage your social media. Because again, the only thing that $99 was buying was the idea that your social media was done. So you didn't worry about it. And maybe there's value to that for you. But a lot of times, if you are just using an AI tool to crank out your content, all it's doing is getting it off your plate. But you have to ask yourself, even if it only took you 10 minutes, is it going to benefit you well, or could that 10 minutes have been used by something else? Now, I do see some of these people that are teaching prompt engineering and things like that. I've watched some of these trainings. It's like, here's how to get it to do this or that. And by the time they go through all of the engineering that has to be done, I'm like, this is going to take 2 hours. I can write these 3 emails in 45 minutes and do a pretty good job at it. So it's not all it's cracked up to be. Definitely worth experimenting, I think, but I think we're a long ways off where AI is just going to do this for you and actually, because this is important, right? This is the income, and this is the revenue, this is the profit for your business. So I think we're a ways off before it's going to do that for you. But Carly, I do appreciate the question. Great question, and great discussion as well. If you want to take a deeper dive into anything we talked about today, you can go to the6ways.com/32, the number 32. And on our next episode, 6 ways entrepreneurs can use anticipation marketing, kind of like Hollywood does. So I'm excited for that conversation. Connect with Monica. She is brilliant. You can get 93 email subject lines for your next promotion. Just go to monicabadiu.com/freebie, MONICABADIU.com/freebie. Of course, we'll include that in the notes of this episode and a couple other episodes you might enjoy. If you enjoyed this one, 6 ways to stay ethical and still be wildly profitable. Great conversation with my friend Anna Saucier. You can find that at the6ways.com/10, or 6 ways to improve the next thing you launch. You can find that at the6ways.com/13. Links, of course, also in the episode notes wherever you are watching or listening. Remember, we all do better when we all do better, so keep helping each other out. And Monica, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity.